PMP study instructions. This presentation is a collection of a few best practices that we have come up with over years of training on PMP. The intention is to provide a few tips which might help you to approach the study systematically. Agenda. These are the three things I will cover in this presentation. First, the alignment of EPMC study material with PMBOK guide, then the interpretation of page 61 of PMBOK, and finally our recommendations on 7-step to PMP preparation. EPMC course is completely aligned with PMBOK guide 5th edition. This means the chapter numbers and section numbers in our study material are exactly same as PMBOK guide 5th edition. The intention is that you can quickly find the relevant section in the PMBOK guide 5th edition. Now I will tell you how to interpret page number 61 of PMBOK guide 5th edition. I call this page as a master page for understanding how the entire guide is organized. The page consists of one matrix and the matrix is depicted on the screen. On the x-axis there are 5 process groups and on the y-axis there are 10 knowledge areas. There are 47 processes arranged in the corresponding cells in the matrix. For example, develop project charter process is an initiating process and is in the project integration management knowledge area, that is chapter number 4. Therefore, the process is numbered 4.1 and is in the first cell, which is an intersection of initiating process group and project integration management knowledge area. My recommendation is that you keep referring to this page to understand your progress in your study and also to quickly recap your understanding of knowledge area or a process group. After seeing 47 processes to be studied, one gets worried. EPMC approach is to break up the task of studying 47 processes into smaller manageable groups. In the next few slides, I will give you a few recommendations which you may use to approach the study systematically by breaking up the task of studying the entire set of 47 processes. First, let's recap the distribution of questions as per process group in the final PMP examination. The table of process group versus percentage of questions and approximately how many questions may come on each process group in the final PMP examination is depicted on your screen. Let us focus our attention on the first process group, which is initiating process group. There are totally 2 processes in this initiating process group. 4.1 develop project charter and 13.1 identify stakeholders. We have seen that 13% of the questions, that is totally 26 questions, are likely to come on initiating process group. That means an average of 13 questions are likely to be asked in the PMP examination on 4.1 develop project charter and 13.1 identify stakeholders. Therefore, my recommendation is that you pay special attention on 4.1 and 13.1. Closing process group. There are 2 processes in the closing process group. 4.6 close project or phase and 12.4 close procurements. 8% or 16 questions are likely to come on closing process group. That means average of 8 questions are likely to be asked in the PMP examination on 4.6 and 12.4. Therefore, please pay special attention to 4.6 and 12.4 while studying. Planning process group. There are 24 processes in the planning process group. Each of the knowledge area has a planning process to start with. For example, 5.1 plan scope management is a process in scope management knowledge area and 6.1 plan cost management is a process in cost management knowledge area. Totally there are 9 such processes, one process per knowledge area from scope management through stakeholder management. For all of these 9 processes, the input is always project management plan in the state that it is in and output is the plan for that knowledge area. For example, scope management plan or cost management plan or quality management plan, etc. My recommendation is study and understand these 9 processes together. Therefore, 30% of your planning processes can be studied this way. Now let's quickly see the time management knowledge area planning process group. Totally there are 6 planning processes in time management knowledge area. 5 of them are logical steps towards development of a schedule. You can study all of these together. Let's now consider planning process group risk management knowledge area. There are 6 planning processes in the risk management knowledge area. 4 of them are risk analysis processes to come up with a plan for risk responses. You can again study them together. Let us recap the planning process group. Totally there are 24 processes, but the processes can be broken up into 4 groups. The 4 groups are indicated on your screen. Group 1, Group 2 and Group 3 that we discussed constitute to 18 out of 24 planning processes. That means 75% of planning process group processes can be grouped and studied systematically. Let us now consider the monitoring and controlling process group. There are totally 11 monitoring and controlling processes. Out of the 11, there are 8 processes which are control and the knowledge area name. For example, control scope, control cost, control schedule, control quality, etc. For each of the control knowledge area process, the following applies. Work performance data is always an input and work performance information is always an output. Project management plan is always an input and the same gets updated in each of these processes. Change request is always an output of these processes. Variance analysis is invariably a tool for most of these processes. Sometimes specific variance analysis tools such as earned value techniques may be used. The concept is that there is always a comparison between planned versus actual, and that is variance analysis. My recommendation is that you study, compare and contrast these 8 processes together so that you can find similarities and differences between each of them. Let us recap the last few slides. We understood that 2 processes of initiating process group and 2 processes of closing process group need to be studied very closely. We saw how 18 out of 24 processes of planning process group can be approached. Then we saw how 8 out of 11 processes of monitoring and controlling process group can be studied together by contrasting and comparing each of those processes. Already we have considered 30 out of 47 processes in the last few slides. After looking at the processes this way, you will now agree with me that we have broken up a task of studying 47 processes into smaller manageable groups. I hope these few slides would help you to approach the study of PMBOK Guide 5th edition systematically. In the next few slides, I will give our recommendations on studying for PMP examinations. EPMC recommendations on 7 steps to study for PMP examination. The first step is attend our class or go through our online studying material on PMP and attain the 35 PDUs. Second step is to read PMBOK Guide 5th edition from beginning to end, including glossary and Annexure X3 interpersonal skills. Step 3 is read PMBOK Guide second time process group wise, that is read first 3 chapters and then read initiating process group, that is processes 4.1 and 13.1. Then read planning process group, that is 4.2, 5.1 through 5.4 and then 6.1 through 6.6 and so on. executing process group, monitoring controlling process group, and closing process group. This way, you would have read PMBOK Guide 5th edition 2 times by end of step number 3. Step number 4. Read EPMC study material and solve chapter-wise questions in the EPMC question bank. This can be done simultaneously with step number 1 and 2. Read and study mind maps 1 or 2 times. Step number 5. Request and give mock test number 1. Discuss the result with the faculty and read your weak areas. Step number 6. Request and give mock test number 2. Again, discuss the result with the faculty and read the areas which you are weak in. Finally, step number 7. If you score 65% marks in both our mock tests, appear for the final PMP examination and pass confidently. With this, we come to the end of this topic. I hope these recommendations would help you to prepare for PMP examination and pass the examination confidently.